just look around. You got the mountains, you got the most beautiful city in the whole entire country. The university is absolutely, looks like it's out of a storybook. It's just beautiful. People are incredibly genuine and extremely nice. It's just a place that obviously I'd want my kids to go to school. And it sells itself. You don't have to sell anything about this place. You just got to get them here. You know, the old field of dreams. Yeah. Build it and they will come. It's already built.
I want to send a special shout out to Boogie Bentley, Dauber, and the Indie Kid over at the Talkin VAWLS Network on YouTube. I also want to ask y'all to go smash that like button and subscribe to their channel on YouTube. Go Big Orange.
My name is the Indie Kid. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. Just coming at you today. Want to bring a video. We're going to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly. Tennessee football and the Josh Heupel year one of this year. But just kind of want to break down the pros. I want to break down where I feel were cons, what I feel they're doing good that they need to take moving forward, what I feel they need to improve on moving forward. So it's gonna be a hit and miss. It's gonna hit along the way. But before we do that, you guys know the drill. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe. Make sure you tune in for any notifications. Again, live shows are on hold. Maybe we're on a sabbatical, I guess you could say, since the season's over. But if there's any big news or anything that warrants going live, we'll have that. Basketball coverage, Dauber and I will be live Wednesday night after the Ole Miss game. We'll be live after games moving forward. Baseball is just around the corner. I think baseball starts in February, so there'll be some stuff coming probably pretty soon on that. Some previewing the schedule, the roster. Very excited about what's coming this year with baseball as well, and hopefully we can build on that also. But obviously the Music City Bowl, the season is in the rear view now. Tennessee finishes the season 7-6. Tough one to swallow yesterday in that Music City Bowl, but I mean, is that not fitting Tennessee fashion? It's just unbelievable when you think they found so many ways for a Tennessee game to end. Just when you think they've all happened, then another one does. But I just kind of want to hit on Josh Heupel, the season he's had, what I feel is important moving forward for him. So number one, I'm going to start with the pros on it. Obviously, he's injected a lot of enthusiasm into this fan base. The expectations have climbed with him. He's brought in a high-powered offense. People call it gimmicky. I don't see the gimmick in it. Gimmicky to me is reverses, wildcats, trick plays. You don't say it. It's just a fast-paced spread offense. It's not your mama and your daddies and Philip Fulmer's smash-mouth 3 yards in a cloud of dust offense. It's high-powered. It's fast-paced. I feel a lot of times when it gets stopped, Tennessee stops themselves. Yeah, a team like Georgia shuts them down. It's the best defense in college football, or one of. But a game like yesterday, I mean, they had an off day and still put up 45 points. Numerous games this year, they had what I considered off days and put up 40 points, 30-some 40 points on teams. Can't, until the NCAA does something about the flopping, that's out of the hand. That's out of Tennessee's hand. They can only keep going their pace. But Heupel's brought in that fast-paced offense. He's brought in an energy. He has changed the culture of Tennessee football. Cannot state that. I mean, just looking at interviews, if you'll go back and search on ESPN.com this week, Chris Lowe had an interview, and I thought it was really interesting. Some of the quotes in it talked about the culture. And Rodney Garner talked about, he said in his, I think he said 31 years of coaching, he had never had the amount of players late to meetings, skipping classes, no-showing meetings in his whole 31 years of coaching as he did the first 2 weeks. There you go. That might explain why there was a number of defensive linemen who hit the exit door. And sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to be humbled before you move forward. But Heupel did that. Heupel finished the early signing period strong. There was a lot of question about that. Can he recruit? There's still questions on that. I'll address that here in just a few minutes when I get to the cons. But This staff worked hard to do that. This staff, they've got a good thing going right now. And they did that with a less than full cupboard. Got to commend them for the job they did this year. Yeah, could there have been more wins? Absolutely. But also, outside of really 3 games, I mean, they were competitive in every game up to some point. With Georgia, that was probably the one they were the least competitive. I mean, but they were in that one till the second quarter. And I'll talk about second quarters going on. And then Georgia kind of pulled away. But Florida, they were in that one till the second half. Alabama, they were in that game till the fourth quarter. So, I mean, this was a team that fought, and they played hard this year. So, hats off to them for what they've changed. Now, here's the thing moving forward. They've set an expectation. Fans are going to be hyped next year. I don't think that bowl is going to curb enthusiasm. I don't think it's going to drop it off any. But what does Heupel need to do to continue that climb? Picked out a few things, and number one is his management at times. Sometimes you got to take points when they're there. I love the aggressiveness. Sometimes you got to play to be safe, though. There comes a time with that, just like the end of the fourth quarter. Yes, there was no excuse that they shouldn't have gotten a field goal within 50 yards. No excuse for that. Total mismanagement of that. And I get your eyes get bigger than your stomach sometimes, so to speak, in terms of, I'm using an eating analogy, obviously, but you guys get where I'm coming from. You get that. You want to take that shot. And I get it. And maybe it was something yesterday, too, where it said Glenn Ellerby tells Alex Golish, and which maybe relates to Heupel, we need to score and get the linemen off the field. But if that's the case, man, them linemen need to get some more conditioning because they take a lot of shots at times, and sometimes a slant will do. Slants were there yesterday. They were not. I don't feel this team utilizes slants very often. They do occasionally, but I would love to know a breakdown of the plays, what is ran. And I don't feel that's a big part of Tennessee's arsenal occasionally. But within a game, the number of slant throws, we can normally count them on one hand. And not that you can throw 30 slants per game. And that's just a big part of college football. That's a big success. We've seen it against Tennessee so many times. Management, and and Heupel said, well, it's on me. There's been numerous times these end of halves, end of quarter, end of game management. It's on me. That he's got to go back and look where he can improve on that, because there's times it's been good, but I feel the percentage of it's on me versus good calls has been outweighed a bit. He's got to see there, what can I do just to go down and get 3? You don't need to get, if somebody breaks wide open, you can hit it. Sure, absolutely, go for it. But play for 3. And, I mentioned it in the day after video. I can't stand the notion of these coaches, and we've seen it, the previous coach, we've seen it with other ones. 40 seconds, like, well, I'm going to throw them off guard here and hit a draw. Maybe I'll get 20 yards on. It's very, very rare that happens. Sometimes it does, but very rare. You've got to get down the field as quick as possible, especially when you got timeouts. I mean, that's part of it. You don't need to burn a timeout right there. Save it for later on. You don't need to burn one because you're trying to be slick and run a draw. So I'd like to see him improve on that defense. The defense dropped off big time. I don't know if it's personnel or what. All 3 levels, though, need improvement. Now, of course, that goes more to Josh Heupel, but for this team to progress moving forward, and I feel they will, this is a vital spring practice coming up for this team. Vital. It's big that there are so many early enrollees, so many guys. There was numerous guys already going through bowl practices from the signing class. There's going to be a lot more joining here in January. That is big. This team needs competition. The secondary needs competition. The linebackers, the line, there needs to be competition. The transfer portal, huge. There's going to be different phases to that. I was kind of critical they haven't been aggressive up to this point. They're being, and I said maybe it's a case of they're being selective on it. And of course, they're in on the Verse kid from up at Albany. Think they're still going to have a good shot at him. Where do you go from there? Safety, secondary, corner. Got to hit that secondary. Linebackers. Jeremy Banks played his hind end off in that Music City Bowl yesterday. He needs help. He needs help. Beasley's improved. I feel these guys will improve more in spring practice to next year, but there still needs to be more depth, more competition, more help. And that defensive line, I think we'd kind of – I think we'd really kind of gotten to the point, like, I don't know if they need much help. It was pretty obvious yesterday they need help there. This team needs to become more physical. They were definitely out-physicaled by Purdue. So I'd like to see that defense. It's got to take another step. I thought it was decent earlier in the year, but I felt as the year went along, it got worse, and it got worse. This team wasn't giving up in the 40s game after game like they've been doing to the good teams here late in the year. And that Kentucky offense that put 40-something was not a very good offense. Purdue's passing yesterday, top 10 in the nation. I don't know it needs to be putting up over 500 yards on you, though. But I felt Purdue ran the ball when they wanted to as well. Defense needs fixing. So what's the process with that? Is it just a matter of getting in more players, developing the talent? You know, I feel that's something that's maybe addressed over the course of time, something they need to work on there. Recruiting. Going back to recruiting, there has to be another level with recruiting. Yes, they had the allegations. Yes, they come in late. Relationships were built late. My one criticism with it, the state of Tennessee, you get 2 of the top 20 players in the state, in which was one of the stronger years for recruiting. I get they were behind the 8 ball, but that's not acceptable. You can't do that moving forward. And I don't think they will. I think they'll fix that as well. But still yet, sometimes you've got, I say relentless on it. I feel there's got to be another level of relentlessness with this staff and their recruiting. And again, hats off to them. They finished strong. They evaluated well. But that's not the tip of the iceberg either. That's not the summit. That's not the peak. In-state, I don't think next year's in-state is going to be as strong. But still, yet there's some good talent in the state of Tennessee. I feel they're off to a good start. I think they'll have better results next year with it. But, you know, let's face it. There's been relationships tarnished over the years from previous coaches. And unfortunately, this staff's have to work to rebuild them. That's where you got to go above and beyond. And, you know, I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but you've got to out-recruit other teams who are coming in. That's the relentlessness I want to see from them. If a guy goes elsewhere, so be it. It should not be because of another team coming into your state and out-recruited you. It's not a necessary criticism, but it's a critique of something they need to do going forward. But I like that Heupel, you know, I say pros and cons. I like that he says there was no ceiling put on this season. There shouldn't be a ceiling put on next year. Now, the natural progression says 8 wins is improvement. We'll see. There's a lot of good pieces coming back to the puzzle. Most of the offense is coming back. One more con, and I didn't – short yardage situations. I don't know who stays and who goes. Could we see some running backs possibly move on? I mean, you never know, it's possible. But you got guys like Lynette Whitehead and D. Beckwith who are big backs, yet we're running 180-pound guys for short yardage. bruisers are there for a reason. Justin Williams is a bigger guy. Hopefully he can come in ready. I think he's an early enrollee as well. As a matter of fact, I think he's already been going through practices. But they need creativity in short yardage situations. Or maybe it's just a case of put a bruiser in and go, because there was the Pitt game, the Purdue game. They were stopped short late. And not only the questionable goal line play, but Tennessee got stopped numerous times yesterday on fourth down where there was just no push. There was not that guy to get extra yards. Is that the line's fault? Is that the runner's fault? I don't know on that one. But I am not a fan. I am a fan of, if you're going to run it in short yardage, put that bruiser guy in there to do it. And obviously, I'm not a fan of shotgun out of short yardage. Maybe that's what you're used to. But they did go out of center the very last play yesterday. Is that something they can do more going forward? I think you've got to, while this is, more of a trendy new school offense, not gimmicky, it's just fast-paced, it's a 21st century style, you've still got to have that blend of smash mouth in there to where you can get a yard. That's my one problem with a fast-paced, more finesse offense. You still got to have that aspect of smash mouth in there. I hope that they will put that in moving forward. But overall, I'm happy with what Heupel did. They exceeded expectations this year. But if you're Josh Heupel, it's at the end, you got to look in the mirror. Why did these second quarter disasters happen? That was the ugly of this year, the second quarter. How do we fix that? What's happening? Are we getting lethargic? Are we getting content? Is it just our teams adjusting to us, adjusting to our pace? Is it because that's when the flops tend to start? Is that throwing us off that much? I don't know. That's something they've got to look at. They've got to examine what happened in these quarters. I would go back, especially being a coach and knowing you got that time, I would examine, and I'm sure somebody charts it along the way with today's data and statistics. Every play in the second quarter of this season and what happened. It even goes back to the Bowling Green game. It started there. It finished the same way. The second quarter of the Bowling Green game was an absolute disaster. The second quarter of the Purdue game, absolute disaster. No improvement in second quarters made from beginning to end. That was a lot of times the fatal flaw of Tennessee's losses was the second quarter. How do they fix that? What can they do? Go back and re-examine with your staff what happened, what we can do to avoid that moving forward. And it's one thing if it happens once, happens twice. It was a consistent thorn in the side of this football team. How can they fix it? But, again, this is just very happy with what this staff's doing. I'm excited about them. I'm hoping that staff continuity stays. I think that'll be big. But now it's how do we evolve? How do we develop? Is it just the case that we need to get more talent in here? There was not a full cupboard. I get it. And guys, don't come at me at the end. You're so negative. I'm not. Pros and cons. Okay? It's fair to give credit. It's fair to say what you need to work on. So just save it. Just save it before you come in saying I'm being negative on it, calling it the way I see it on it. Happy with where it's going. There is another level for this staff to get to. I think they can get there. I think we're going to be happy. I think this staff wants to be here for years. I think they have the vision to evolve and do that. Be curious to see where they move going forward. Transfer portal and a very, very vital spring practice. Cannot wait for that. But my name's Indy Kid. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. Happy New Year, guys. Enjoy your day. And go Big Orange.